What's up guys, so as you know, I'm doing a lot of horror videos right now. A lot of, recommending you guys some stuff that I really enjoy that I feel like is underappreciated, talking about some classics, and now I'm gonna do my first ranking video. So when I was thinking about which series I wanted to rank first, I was like, oh, I love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I love the Child's Play series, Friday the 13th. So which one of these would I like to talk about first? And then I thought to myself, fuck all that, let's talk about some garbage. Well, I'm gonna talk about the Final Destination series, which I just had the joy and pleasure of watching straight through over the course of like 3 days. And to be completely honest, I saw the first Final Destination movie a long time ago, and the rest of them I'd seen bits and pieces on like the Sci-Fi Channel and, just random places on TV. But I didn't remember a whole lot about a lot of these, so I kind of was coming into most of them with a very fresh perspective. And this franchise is a fucking blast. I really like over-the-top, dumb horror, and I feel like, there's certain directors who can really get it right and do a good job with it, because if a director is too self-aware that what they're making is incredibly stupid, unless they're a Sam Raimi type that can really, use hokiness to their advantage to add to the atmosphere and tone and mood of the movie, fall apart. Or you have, in another case, like a Birdemic, or, it's just complete inept filmmaking that you have these crazy people involved that have no idea what they're making, and it turns out great because it's just hot garbage. The Final Destination series does a really great job of being self-aware enough, but still being super dumb and fun, that I really had a blast with this whole franchise. I'm gonna rank this franchise from worst to best, and I'm gonna walk through and give my opinion. Obviously, this is just my opinion. I'm a connoisseur of film, but I'm not a, scholar in it by any means. I'm ranking a film franchise about people who die in absolutely absurd ways. But this is just my opinion. I'd love for you guys to comment down below and tell me what your order is of your favorite Final Destination movies. I think these movies are a blast, and I definitely plan on revisiting them again. Coming in at dead last is The Final Destination, the fourth film in the franchise, directed by David R. Ellis, who also directed the second film in the franchise and Homeward Bound 2. What really blows me away about the fourth film in the franchise is how inept it is compared to the rest of the movies. It's like David Ellis completely forgot what the tone and the mood of these movies are and made something that feels completely inconsistent and moronic compared to the rest of the series. I'll talk about this one a little bit, but I'm not going to dwell on it very long because of how fucking bad it sucks. The characters aren't interesting. By the time you're introduced to them in this movie, the kills aren't even good anymore because the characters are so unlikable and horrible that you just find yourself drifting off. I just wanted it to be over from the moment it started. If it tells you how bad it is, there's character credit as racist and racist's wife. And luckily they get their just desserts pretty early on in the movie, but it's just like the movie is that bad, and the dialogue and the inclusion of the racist couple is so poorly placed, you're just like, why the fuck is this even in this stupid ass movie? In the Final Destination series, each movie begins with a tragedy where these characters get away from this horrible event that happens, and because they escape death, death is coming back for them. This movie, it takes place at a racetrack where a car sort of flips out and blows up part of the racetrack and takes out a whole bunch of people. And it's interesting in theory, but it's shot so poorly. The CGI deaths aren't even entertaining because the characters are so shitty. They drop, compared to the other movies, you get a little bit of build up to where you understand these characters, to where you actually care about them enough to where when they start dying off, you're invested in the story. This one just jumps you right into where it's like, oh, here's a bunch of douchey kids that I can't really tell what age they're supposed to be. The lead guy and his girlfriend live together, but they look like they're 19. The friend is super douchey. Like, it's terrible. I fucking hate this movie. I hate even talking about it right now. There are some interesting kills, I guess, but by the end of this one, I was just like, fuck this movie. I don't ever want to watch it again. That's all I'm talking about, the Final Destination. Now, from here on out, from 4 to number 1, I will genuinely say The rest of these movies are all entertaining and worth watching. If you're gonna watch the franchise, you can just fucking skip that fourth movie. It's a piece of shit. The acting is horrible. Everything in it is terrible. Just move right on to the next one in the franchise. Coming in at number 4 is, by no surprise, Final Destination 2, directed also by David R. Ellis. I think, this movie does a lot better job of jumping you in and introducing you to your characters. The two lead characters in this one, Kim and Thomas, Thomas is a police officer in the movie, and Kim is the young girl who sees the premonition ahead of time. This one jumps you into a girl meeting up with her friends. They're going on a vacation and they're going to pull on a highway. And the intro scene to this movie is actually super intense and brutal. It made me terrified to ever drive behind a logging truck ever again. She has a premonition that this logging truck breaks loose. These logs come down, impale a bunch of people in their cars. Cars flip, explode, and there's just this massive car pileup. As the premonition, she stops traffic and a bunch of people get out of their cars, and obviously the accident occurs. And our lead is Kim, and the other lead is the Thomas, who is the one at the scene at the time. This movie, the kills are really good. There's a lot of really interesting and unique takes. I feel like tonally it's very similar to the first movie. They tried to carry over that tone. They even bring back Ali Larter, who plays Clear Rivers in the first movie, and she does a really nice job in this one. I really like the whole idea of these characters banding together to try and, fight this as a group, because they're all a bunch of strangers who just met because of this crazy circumstance. And when they start dropping off one by one, it's cool to see them meet at the police officer's house and try to find a way to fight death, essentially. Some really brutal kills in this movie. The one that really sticks out to me is the elevator scene, which, just watch it. It's fucking insane. But yeah, I really like Kim, the lead girl in this movie. She's really well written. She's interesting. The rest of the characters are kind of hit or miss. But most of them, if they're not really well written, are killed off fast enough. I think what sets this one down lower in the franchise for me is there's a lot of dead space in a movie that's only like an hour and a half. And if I'm watching a stupid movie about people being killed one by one, I want it to, be fast paced, be, engaging consistently. And this one falls flat a little bit for me, but like I said before, other than that piece of garbage, The Final Destination, this one is definitely worth watching. I would check it out, but it's coming in at number 4 for me. Number 3, which this might be a controversial opinion to most people, is going to be Final Destination from James Wan. This is obviously what hooked me onto the franchise. I think the setup to this movie is great. The friends in the airport leaving on the trip to go to France together. You have Devon Sawa, who I actually really like in this movie. I think that he gives a good performance for the material that he's given. Ali Larter is fantastic. Sean William Scott's pretty funny for while he's in it. I don't find him like an incredible actor by any means, but his dumb demeanor really adds to the overall tone of the movie. The worst character in the movie is Kerr Smith, who gives like the douchiest, most horrible performance where he just hates Devon Sawa for no reason. And it's pretty fun to watch, but he is fucking horrible. Yeah, this one's really entertaining. I feel like the kills are pretty tame comparatively to the later sequels, but one of the things I can appreciate about it is the amount of editing and build-up that comes with the payoffs of these kills. One of the most insane ones is this teacher who dies in her house. Her house ends up exploding, but just all the little things that occur to build up to this just insane event of like her house not only blowing up, but her accidentally pulling an entire thing of knives onto herself. And that's what really makes these movies great to me, is just how much effort and time is put up into showing these little trickle down events that happen in order to kill these characters in a way that, like, I love in most of these movies. These police officers are just like, I can't even fucking explain how this happens, which makes sense because normally nothing like that could have happened when like toilet water trickles out from behind the toilet, so someone will slip and fall and then choke themselves in their tub. It's just insane how much effort and detail goes into a concept that's pretty schlocky overall. Final Destination 1, it's great. I love the third act of this movie, how ridiculous the closing sequence is. The Sean William Scott death is fucking hilarious. I laughed about it forever after it was over. But yeah, that's coming in at number 3 as Final Destination. Here comes 2 and 1 for me. So to be completely honest, I enjoyed these two movies about equivocally. There was a little bit that edged out my number 1 for me, but these two, just on any given day, could probably flip from 2 to 1 for me, just depending on my mood or what's more engaging. Coming in at number 2 is Final Destination 3 from none other than James Wong. I think it was really intelligent to bring Wong back for this movie. He clearly understood the tone and what he was going for in the first one, and this movie really tonally feels almost identical to the first movie. It's shot very similarly. You can tell that there's an equal amount of time given to these kills in the movie. One of the most intense death scenes in any of them is the 2 girls at the tanning salon, which I will never use a tanning bed again the rest of my life. This one starts off at an amusement park, which is an absolutely terrifying place to start. It's like an amusement park for these kids' senior thing. I don't really care. It's fun regardless. And it stars Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who gives the best performance of anyone in the rest of these movies. If I went to high school with Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I too would die immediately. And then we get the inclusion of one of my favorite characters, which is Ryan Merriman from the 13th year in all the Disney Channel original movies, who plays Kevin in this film. And he is something else, and I'll talk about his performance a little bit later. But yeah, he's something in this movie. So yeah, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, her and her boyfriend are going to get on this roller coaster with Ryan Merriman and his girlfriend. They get on. She has a premonition that the roller coaster is going to fly off the tracks and that they're all going to die. And she manages to get herself off, Ryan Merriman's character off, and then a bunch of other people from their high school. And her boyfriend and Ryan Merriman's girlfriend both die on the roller coaster. And so the two of them bond over this event. Ryan Merriman looks up some information online and sees the events of the first and the second film and decides, hey, maybe they were onto something. You know, these people say that they're going to be killed off sequentially like in the rest of the movies. And in this one, it's very entertaining. Characters in this one are insane. There's a guy whose name is literally Frankie Cheeks, who is like a disgusting pervert. Yeah, it's just really over the top. I really like the two characters that work in the hardware store, the goth guy. They're all really interesting. I think it's like some of the best written characters in the entire franchise. The kills are insane. Like I said, the one at the tanning salon is like just fucking brutal and disgusting. The one in the hardware store is pretty intense. But the best part of the movie is you can make this your Halloween drinking game. Take a shot every time Ryan Merriman. Let's look at the pictures. How many how many pictures do you have? Picture. It's just like fucking drilled into my head for the rest of my life.
It's right here. Pictures of us in there. Look at that picture. All I'm going to do is
yeah, this one includes a very interesting thing where Mary Elizabeth Winstead is able to like get clues for how the people are going to die based on what are in these pictures that she's taken because she works for the school yearbook. And she sees little things in there and is trying to discern how each character is going to die. And that's really interesting because in the first movie, Devon Sawa just gets little bits and pieces in these visions. And Kim is similar to where she sees like little bits and pieces in the second movie, and that's how they find out who's going to die next. Final Destination 3, it's a riot from start to finish. I love the characters in this movie. I love the absurdity of it. I love how they tied it into the first two movies without it feeling overly hokey or cliched. And it's a blast, and it's definitely worth watching for the Halloween season. Number 1, believe it or not, this does not happen to me very frequently, but number 1 is going to be Final Destination 5, directed by Steve Quayle. I never thought that a 5th movie in a franchise would be my absolute favorite, but this movie is fucking insane. I think what makes this my favorite, the director of this film, Steve Quayle, really understands juggling that tonality I talked about earlier, where you have the absurdity mixed with, you know, taking itself seriously enough to where the movie is scary but also comical. And I think this movie has a self-awareness that the previous ones don't have necessarily nailed 100%. One takes place at a business retreat where you have our characters meet together, where they're all about to get on a bus to go to this business trip. And the boss of their company is played by David Koechner, who gives obviously a David Koechner performance that made me laugh really hard, just like he's, you know, eccentric, moronic, everything you want from David Koechner in any kind of movie. The main character of the film, Nicholas D'Augusto, who plays Sam, does a really fantastic job. I really like most of the characters in this movie. They do a really good job, like in the first few installments, where they build these characters up and you have enough understanding of their background to actually give a fuck when they start dropping off like flies. But this one, they're on a bus and they park some construction on a bridge, and this bridge just starts falling apart. And the initial sequence where they have having the vision of what's going to happen is just super brutal and intense, and it's really engaging and grabbed me right out of the gate. Kills in this one are some of my favorites. They're really over the top and absurd. I think one of the more terrifying elements of this is Sam isn't getting visions about how people are going to die. There's no real indication early on of how these people are going to die, other than when they start to realize the people are dying, he tries to remember one by one how they died, because the sequential order is the most important part of the whole franchise. They really talk about how these people dying in the order that they were killed in his vision is very important. A really great performance leading this off. Everybody else in it really supports it well. Like I said, David Koechner is just insane. His death is fucking absurd and wonderful to watch. But yeah, this is definitely, at this moment in time, my favorite in the series. The third act ties the entire series together so well. It's a great ending. I'm assuming they'll probably at some point make another one of these movies, and by all means, they're really stupid, they're a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed watching this whole franchise. What is your favorite Final Destination movie? Leave a comment down below. Actually, you can leave a comment, rank them out, we'll talk about it. I want to know what's your favorite, what's your least favorite. If it's the Final Destination, you have horrible taste in movies and you should never watch a movie ever again the rest of your life. No, I'm just kidding, but that is my opinion. The rest of these movies are super fun to watch. I really enjoyed them. I'll be interested to watch them again to see if my opinion changes, and if it ever does, I'll do an update video or just leave a comment down below and update my ranking. But I really had a lot of fun talking about these movies. I'm excited to do some more ranking lists here in the month of October, and I'm excited to hear what you guys are excited to hear me talk about. Is there any franchise you really want me to talk about? I love all the horror franchises. I've watched a lot of them recently, so I'll have another one here for you guys shortly. Thanks again so much for watching, guys. Have a great rest of your day.